Skiing and snowboarding season is finally now in full swing, and with weather slowly starting to cooperate with us, the Equinox thought it might be time to review a few mountains for those who want to ski or snowboard someplace new this season. So being one of a few skiers on the Equinox seaboard, I decided to grab my gear and head off to Mount Snow. Mount Snow is about an hour's drive west of Keene, New Hampshire, in the little town of Dover, Vermont. It's definitely not the closest mountain around, that being Crotchet Mountain and Pat's Peak. But if you travel that extra few miles, you'll be greeted with a 589-acre mountain. The mountain also hosts a resort at the base of it, which probably explains why there were so many cars when I got there. Parking definitely wasn't an issue, it was just a little bit of a walk from where I started. Before I had left, I had decided to buy my lift ticket and rentals online, which was very quick and very straightforward. So when I got to the main lodge, all I had to do was show them my printed ticket and go get my equipment. The first thing that had hit me when I gathered my equipment and went outside to the base of the mountain was how spread out everything was. I've been to a few mountains where everything's either really tightly packed together or there's just one big building, and it just doesn't feel right. But with Mount Snow, everything's spread out and it's really nice. It feels like an actual village. Nothing's too far away from each other where it's a pain to walk to, but nothing's like so crunched together where you're going to feel really awkward just moving around in either snowboarding boots or skiing boots. I hit the mountain as fast as I could after setting up all my camera and ski equipment, and I jumped on the Bluebird Express, which is by far the fastest ski lift I've ever been on. Even though the mountain is absolutely huge, it only took 7 minutes to get all the way up to the top. At the very top of the mountain is the Bull Wheel, which is a little lodge you can relax at while getting something to eat or drink. The skiing itself was perfect. There was about an inch of fresh snow on the trails, except for down near at the base, where near the end of the day, stuff got a little bit icy due to the weather, how warm it was, and how packed everything was, but everything above that was perfect. All the trails are nicely groomed, and everything is clearly marked. All the trail labels were easy to see. All the trails were easy to find, and I had no trouble navigating the mountain. If I was going to compare the difficulty of this mountain to one like Pat's Peak, I'd say this one is just a little bit more difficult. I think it's a little bit more difficult because of the size and the vertical drop. There's just more distance to travel, especially on the blue trails. But other than that, there's a really good green trail called Long John. It's about 3 miles long, and a few times going up and down that, I was ready to go and ready to hit the more difficult trails. There's also a really great terrain park, one of the largest I've ever been at, and it was quite daunting just to look up at it and see people skiing down and snowboarding, going off the jumps. But Chris DeJohn, on the other hand, is a regular at Mount Snow and the Corinthian Terrain Park, and he had a better time at it than I did. When lunch came around, I went down to the base of the mountain and stopped by Ruben's Smokehouse. It's a grab-and-go barbecue place, and I spent about just under $20 for a pulled pork sandwich, a side of mac and cheese, some coleslaw, and a soda. It's a bit pricey, especially for just being an outdoor grab-and-go kind of a place, but I guess it's kind of par for the course. It's the only meal that you're going to get other than a full-fledged meal at one of the multiple restaurants there. Overall, skiing on Mount Snow was really a blast, and it's definitely one of my top mountains right now. Even though it looked like the lifts were crowded and some of the trails were crowded, it felt spread out. Nothing was saturated to a point where I wasn't happy. It was just really spread out, and the size of the mountain really helped. The lifts were good, especially the Bluebird Express. Everything else was just about perfect. The staff were great, check-in was super easy, and rental sign-out was a breeze, especially after buying everything online. My only complaint with Mount Snow would have to be the operating hours. On the weekends, they're open from 8 to 4 p.m., and on the weekdays, it's from 9 to 4 p.m. There's absolutely no night skiing, which is a real shame because I think a mountain of that size would be absolutely amazing skiing at night, especially just blasting down Long John, the 3-mile trail at night. I think that would be perfect. The hours of operation also kind of leads into the second biggest problem I have, which is also a plus, and that's the size of the mountain. If you want to appreciate the entire mountain, you definitely have to go there for at least a full weekend to just ski everything. I was skiing for about 7 out of the 8 hours I was there, and even then I only got to about 2/3 of the main part of the mountain, and I haven't even touched the back 2 sides. So overall, skiing on Mount Snow was definitely a great experience, even with the short hours and lack of night skiing. If you want to go to Mount Snow, which I highly recommend, definitely go for 2 days, weekend, or maybe even a long weekend, so that way you can fully enjoy this gem of a mountain.